Hi, this is Odean. Today I'm having a look at Takara Tommy's Transformers Encore Fortress Maximus, number 23. This review is a bit difficult for me because I don't have space. Obviously, Maximus is absolutely huge and he wouldn't fit in my light tent, so I've pulled that down, and you can see that on my wall here I've got stuck some fabric as a backdrop, so you'll have to excuse that. I don't own an original G1 Hasbro Fortress Maximus, so I can't comment on the original box, but I do love this box. And from what I hear, this is the Japanese style, the same as the original G1 Japanese style, and it looks really fantastic. I have a lot of really good memories of G1 art, so this kind of style, this artistic license that they took when doing characters for the fronts of boxes, this is what taught me to draw, basically. So the whole time I was in primary school, I would just sit there over and over again studying G1 box art and drawing, and it was really educational for me. And having this huge box with such a good example of it here, I love it. It's beautiful. But where the box really gets good, in my opinion, is on the back. So this is familiar to anyone who has a lot of G1 figures, and I would study this picture for hours on end when I was, I think, 8 or 9, and just dream about having all the characters in here. And it's come to pass that we've got updates of quite a few of these characters. I mean, I just got my Function X1 code or whatever it is, so I've got a Chrome Dome, and then I think the other day we reviewed the hardbone version of Hardhead, and now Encore Fortress Maximus. It's kind of blowing my mind to have this at such a huge scale. Before I move on to the figure, I thought it'd be good to just show a comparison of the Fortress Maximus that I do already have. So here we've got the Robots in Disguise box art, and it's god ugly. I don't know why Korean toys always seem to come in such hideous boxes, but it's not inspiring. On the one hand, we've got this awesome box. On the other hand, this. So you take your pick, which is better. I'm going to start the review in city mode because this is probably where most of the features kind of reside, and we'll work our way up to robot. So I'm just going to take this review as if nobody knows what Fortress Maximus is, and I know a lot of fans really do, but if you don't like seeing all the little gimmicks, then you can just skip over this bit. Maximus is basically a huge doll's house for boys, and I don't say that lightly. My daughter loves this thing, and she considers it pretty much a playhouse for little toys. So she was playing with it for, must be 2 hours last night when I got this, and she begged me to give it to her, but I couldn't let her keep it. It's too expensive, but it is a lot of fun for little kids, and it was made for little kids to play with, hence all these features. So the first thing I'll show is the communications tower, which you saw me spinning around there just with this little dial. It does pop right off, and if you want to have a closer look, there we are. Nicely molded. Could do with some paint, but considering how many stickers are on this figure, I'm glad to not have too many intricate little stickers to put in this bit. Popping that back on, and I just want to mention that the figure did come with a huge sticker sheet. The sticker sheet was pretty good quality. I did make one mistake. You'll notice that on this side, the lettering, if I can just move this a bit, down here you can see the lettering is at the front. It's supposed to be the same over here, but unfortunately I mistakenly put it on backwards. But apart from that, I think all these are representative of the correct way to be put on. The first feature I'll show apart from this is this doorway here. So inside the doorway, I'm just going to detach my camera. You can see it's a little bit dark in there, but if I whack this button, out comes a drone. This guy, I can't remember his name, but he joins together with another drone to form Cog, one of Fortress Maximus's minions. So pop him back in there. You can see the other drone over here. He has a little bump at the back that lets him nicely fit into this ramp, and it's just meant to be slid forward like this as a kind of launcher. So you launch your little figures off like that. So let's go ahead and join those two drones into one. So this part doesn't have to do anything. I'm just going to sit it down here. This little bit, you pop off the guns, stick them back on the sides like this, and then just slot the two parts together, and there we have Cog. His face could really do with some paint. I'm surprised it didn't have a sticker. There were a number of stickers on the figure, but I think I might take some paint to his eyes eventually, or a texture or something, I'm not sure. He also has another mode. If we pull the arms off and that bit and plug it back on, oh, wait a minute, like this, right, there we go, you can see that it's kind of a little chair. So if we take our headmaster unit, which is Spike, and stick him in here, if you go with the American continuity, it forms a pretty secure bond. Looks like kind of a automated turret chair or a wheelchair or something. He won't fall out, although it's not rock solid, it's good enough. So I'm going to put him in the launcher, launch him out, still sitting nice and snug. The next feature involves this drone again, and I think this is probably the best and coolest feature in the whole toy. We're going to put him in here, and just grabbing the camera. On the back of the toy, you can see that there's this little wheel that can be turned around. It's hard to get some light in there. What can happen is, just bear with me, as I turn it around, he goes down. And if we open this little door down here, lo and behold, it's a lift which has taken him to the bottom. Let's see it go up. My hand is so big it's hard to fit in the hole. My daughter must have made this lift go up and down 100 times in a row. She just loves it, and you know, I love it too. I think it's a fantastically designed toy. If the fortress comes under attack by some Decepticons, we can pop this panel up here and close the door. So that makes a strong, reinforced looking door here. Now that's just sort of leftover from transformation, but definitely adds lots of play value, being able to shut the door. One thing with this figure is that a lot of the little catches where fingers are supposed to go in, like in the sides here, on the top there, and all over the toy, are not meant for adults. My fat fingers are not able to get into those spaces, hence use of the screwdriver. The next feature are these steps. So they're pretty big steps, but what they can do is close. But before we close it, let's stick one of our figures inside, and then he can use that as some kind of shield, or it can be in a prison or a storage bay, who knows what, but adds some play value. On the front here, where we've got this kind of little entry hole, this guy can insert into there, and it kind of is a waiting bay where he can just hang around waiting for action and then be deployed out like that. There's some little notches that keep him in there and stop him from rolling out by himself. The top of this tower area has a see-through plastic window that looks a lot like a cockpit, and it is a cockpit. So if we get our Spike here and fold his legs up into a sitting position, he can actually sit inside this area and it can close in on him. He fits nice and snug, and that plays another role in one of the other modes for Fortress Maximus. Down here we've got guns, so you can see one of them's already sticking out. That's as high as they go, kind of not exactly straight, but they do look nice and powerful. On the other side we've got another kind of corrugated door, and it looks pretty tough, so I'm going to give you a look from a figure's perspective. Kind of bars here, and what happens is, if you can get your fingers in there to pry it out, my fat finger problem again, there's my damn screwdriver, it forms a set of steps, and there's this kind of prison bar grate here, or what do you call that, a portcullis. It would be nice if it slides up, but physical reality stops that from happening. But it does lift upwards like this, and inside you can see I've used this area to store some of the little bits and pieces that come with Fortress Maximus. And in fact, this is the ideal spot to put those little pieces, to never lose them, because once something goes in here and you shut the two doors, it's locked up. There's no way for them to fall out. A very good storage area in the figure. Here's one of those guns that I just mentioned, and he belongs to Cog. So we do have another gun that won't fit into Cog's hand, and this is the one for Cerebros, which is the big head of Fortress Maximus, and this little sword which also belongs to him, which I'll show you in a minute. The final feature available in this mode is where the helipad is. It can bend out and then deploy a huge cannon. So now the entry to the fort up this ramp can be protected by this huge double blaster, which is pretty cool looking. Let's get Fortress Maximus transformed. Now you've got to bear with me because this thing is so physically heavy, it's a bit hard to do on camera. Anyway, make sure this is back like this, and then there's a double hinge here which has to bend over in 2 steps, and it tabs in like that. Same thing exactly happens on the other side. Next, fold the helipad back out of the way, just temporarily. Bend this panel up, and then fold this platform up, and just stick it in there like that. This panel goes back down. The next step is to just detach these big guns to get them out of the way for a minute. We can choose to put them back on later if we want. Fold up the door here. Fold back this section of the ramp. It kind of locks in like that. And here's where it gets hard. Okay, these legs are absolutely huge, and on huge ratchets it can be hard to do, but what we just want to do is get them out sideways like that. You can hear the sound of those ratchets just clicking away there. Grab this securely and then just rotate it like this. Then we're going to bend the legs towards the front. Now at this stage we can go either to robot or spaceship mode. I will show you the ship mode because it's pretty cool. So we bend the feet down like this. We turn the gun pod over and deploy the weapon. And we can put our other weapons up. And essentially that is the space cruiser mode. So in this mode, if we want to, we can also attach the big guns back on, maybe point them forwards. It's pretty long. It's really takes up a lot of space, but fun to play with. It is on some wheels, so it's definitely intended to do this because it can roll backwards and forwards, but it is very, very heavy, hard to play with. Just even for me, picking that up at a distance is a bit of a difficulty. I can't imagine how a kid would play with it, and that's maybe why it didn't get such a wide release. We also see here that this is where the cockpit comes into play. So now this is kind of the bridge of the ship. Small ship, admittedly, given that it's only got one person in there, but you could use your imagination and pretend they're windows. On the other version, the Korean version that I've got, all these areas are painted with tons of windows, so a little bit less left to the imagination. Continuing on to robot mode, bend these feet back up to how they were. Grab the whole big heavy thing, stand it up, fold this module around to the back to just get it out of sight. Disconnect the communications module, and we can just put that aside. Leaving these arms up so there's a clearance here, grab these two sections of the tower. Now this is stuck together pretty well and we don't want to go out of control. Strongly pull it apart like that without letting it rip. Bend these right back and you'll hear a click when they're in position. Very, very solid click. We can then just grab the arms and rotate them down. Almost there. Grab this remaining bit sticking out and bend it to the back, and it will also click into its final position. So that's essentially it. Fortress Maximus transformed. But where is the head? Ah, the head is still here. So this, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like more communications equipment to me. This tower left over inside the robot pulls out, the little flap shuts up, and what we have is a dude. So this is the head of Fortress Maximus, but also it is Cerebros, if you go with Season 4 of Transformers G1. I was never a big fan of this toy. I always thought that it looked a bit puny, and it is a bit puny, and probably because they have to fit it into that head mode. There we go. But it's still another figure to have, and in the realms of G1, not as bad as it could possibly be. Now he does have that gun and sword that I mentioned earlier. And if you open up the panel on the front, his readouts, which are almost 10. So we've got, looks like 10 for speed, 10 for strength, and 9 for intelligence. So this is one tough guy. Putting him to head mode, just fold him all up again. You have to be a bit careful with that joint there because it's quite stiff. Kind of don't lever it too much without holding the part underneath it. Fold this up and there we've got the head. One thing to note with this head is these eyes are painted on. So I think the original toy did not have painted on eyes. And there were definitely stickers on the sticker sheet for these eyes, but it was unnecessary to put them on just because it was already painted. Part of me wishes that the whole figure had been painted or tampoed instead of stickers, because stickers inevitably peel off. But the result in hand right now is pretty darn good. What the future holds, I guess, depends on the quality of the stickers.
Fortress Maximus.
For a lot of people, I guess, a grail, and the fandom must be pretty happy to finally have a reissue of this guy at such high quality. We still have access to the guns, so he can shoot from his shins. Don't ask me what this little thing is. G1 has a nasty habit of doing that. His forearms are where the real action starts to happen. So if we bend these panels open, 2 double blasters in there, and if we fold these panels back on the hands, another set of guns. So he can obliterate you just by pointing his hand at you. That is some firepower. To go in his hand, he can also put this huge gun, and in the other hand, his other big gun. Now for me, this is the first time having these big guns, because having the Korean version, which didn't come with these weapons, I always missed out on this, and it's just huge. I'm sure that for a long time this was probably the biggest gun in Transformers. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of another gun which is bigger. I mean, I can think of a weapon which is bigger. I know Metroplex from Transformers Cybertron has that digging wheel, which is a lot bigger than this. But as far as guns go, I'm having a hard time remembering if there's one bigger than this to this day. But the firepower doesn't stop there. So if we grab these arms and just temporarily stick them up in the air, Fortress Maximus has this kind of ultimate weapon cannon which can bend forward like this. And now nothing withstands Maximus. Even after all that, there is still more weaponry. This huge sword. Now, I never got one of this because I had the Korean one, as mentioned before, but I have bought a version of this from a third-party company, which, although looks similar, is not identical. It is actually a bit longer, and the hilt is arranged differently. Very, very similar design, and I think I like the third-party one a bit better, but this has got a weird handle. At first I couldn't figure out what this bit was in the box, because only one spot in the instructions even has this anywhere on it. Tell me in the comments, but I don't think this is G1. This might be something that they've added on as a new handle for this Encore version. But anyway, that just pops in there, and what it can do is go over the fist, and that is the locking mechanism that gets the sword to stay in the hand. Now aesthetically I like the sword, but conceptually I think that it's ridiculous. Who's going to have a sword that big with a robot who's already this big? I mean, he's the size, he's a fortress, a city, a huge spaceship. How can he possibly wield something as massive as that? Here's probably a topical size comparison. So up until recently there wasn't much that could be shown as a scale comparison with Fortress Maximus, because there weren't that many toys that were as big as him. But here we've got Mattel's Classics Voltron Lion Force, an absolute piece of shit of a toy, by the way, which I haven't reviewed because look, long story short, I own 2 of everything that you see here. I had to buy 2 of each to end up getting one good figure. Individually, I paid more than $100 after shipping for every lion, so that's a bare minimum of $1,000 for those 2 pieces of shit, and fuck you, Mattel. Aside from that, this guy is executed flawlessly. Tommy Takara, thank you. Fortress Maximus has not one QC issue. He is beautiful to look at. He is everything from the stickers to the ratchets to the plastic quality to the finish. It is a perfect piece, and assuming that you actually wanted and like the G1 Fortress Maximus, you are not going to get a better Fortress Maximus. So thank you, Tommy Takara, Tommy, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, there is my size comparison for these guys. Apparently, the upcoming Metroplex figure from Fall of Cybertron is going to be a little bit taller, but I would really doubt if he's going to be anywhere near as heavy. But anyway, we'll see that when it comes. But if you'd like to see some other comparisons of this guy and especially seeing how his city can integrate with other bots. Stay tuned to this channel because I'm planning on putting up a video of what kind of cities I can build with all my city bots in a short time. My final thoughts on Fortress Maximus, Encore Fortress Maximus. 100% buy this figure. I have no qualms recommending this figure. As I just mentioned, the QC is flawless. This is a perfectly produced toy. There is not one part, not one crease in the sticker sheet, not one misapplied paint chip, nothing. The version that I've got in my hand here, executed to perfection. So it won't let you down. It is G1, so it is blocky, it doesn't move very much, and that's just par for the course with old toys like this. But you will not be disappointed. Even if blockiness is something you can't stand, the mass of this figure is just worth it in plastic weight to own. It looks fantastic, even if you never move it again. With all those guns sticking out everywhere, you just can't go wrong. I highly, highly recommend picking up this figure. If money is what is on your mind, put money out of your mind when buying this toy. I got this for $350 shipped straight from Japan. That is good value. The toy originally sold in the 80s for about $100 at stores. By the time 2000 came, the Korean version which I picked up was 100 with 100 shipping. That's 200. We're at 13 or 14 years since that. So we've gone from 200 to 350. I think that the increase is probably going backwards in realistic value when you take into account inflation and stuff like that. I think this has got cheaper over time, not more expensive. And just as a quick side, you might have noticed at the side here, I've got a bunch of other toys in boxes on my shelf. This guy, local retail, $150. This guy at local retail, $150 the first time, and admittedly I got one later on for $60, but these guys together at retail are virtually the same price as Fortress Maximus. And if you're lucky enough to be in America, where you can get it from somewhere like BBTS with much cheaper shipping, you can probably do better than that. Bringing up BBTS, I just want to mention them because they are selling this at a really good price, $320 something plus shipping, and I kind of feel like a bit of a bastard for what I did because I pre-ordered this and at the last minute, like one day before they got it, I cancelled my pre-order. And I hate doing that. I feel like I should have a kind of loyalty to someone who offers such good terms as them. But the money that I saved after shipping on this guy, for me, worked out at about $75. And that's because I live a long way from the US. I'm in Australia. But if you're in America and have the opportunity to support them for taking the risk on this, that would be a great thing to do because it must be a bit of a risk to have so much money tied up in really huge figures like this, and just supporting the retailers and Takara for actually making it is something we all need to do to make sure that we keep getting stuff like this, because there are so many good G1 figures that heaps of us fans would love to buy if they were reissued. And by actually buying the stuff when it comes out, not when it's on clearance, I think we can make more of this happen. Not that I'm a huge G1 nut, because I'm not. There are plenty of G1 figures that I just don't really care about anymore. But there's something about guys like this that is never going to be reproduced again. So anyway, thanks for watching. This has been my video review of Takara Tomy Transformers Encore Fortress Maximus. I'm Adian. Thanks for watching.